Thank you. I think I met most of you before, and actually my presentation is more or less the same as last time. But let me just talk a little about Keepit, just who we are and what we actually do, since most of you know us. I will do it short. But we are a growing company who do something that you don't think that you need to. Netflix says that their biggest competitor is sleep. Our biggest competitor are ignorance, actually, because we take cloud data, 365, Entra ID, things like that. We'll get much more in detail in a bit on that, from the cloud and bring it to a data center where you are. We are a Danish-founded company. We have support teams in Krakow and we have offices around the world. We have data centers in 7 countries right now, meaning that we have in Australia, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Denmark, in the US, in the UK, around the world. And we are growing. Because taking data out of a cloud, especially from Microsoft as the things are turning now, bringing it close to you, speaks into the sort of the sovereignty discussions that are going on in Europe at the moment and in the world. We have grown from, I started 2 years ago. We were around 300 people and now we are 653, I think, maybe 654 if they signed the latest contract. No, but we are growing rapidly. I cannot speak about the numbers, but we are actually doing quite good. So,
quite good, sorry, said from someone based in Northern Europe is excellent, by the way.
Yeah, that's the translation, that's right. We are doing very good. And of course, this is the things that are going on in the world. I'm not an engineer, most of you, some of you know. I come from a police background, from an intelligence background, while I'm also getting a bit scared to see this everywhere. If you look it up, you know where Weem comes from. But I come from an intelligence background. I try to prepare for things, or I'm sort of trained to prepare for things that we think will never happen. I've been to NATO, EU. The last 2 days I spent at the EU Parliament in Strasbourg, talking sovereignty with the Parliament members there. We are trying to sort of put sort of quality and quantity into the discussion on sovereignty, on how we can actually do things. Because the world is rather abstract. Some of them have seen this before, and there's no changes in the sort of threat environment in the world. We see the war in Iran, we see a lot of advanced electronic attacks towards our infrastructure. And one thing that is new when we talk drones and when we talk advanced attack, that is sort of the attack on a data center in Dubai a while ago, where that was a legitimate target to attack a data center physically. And I think we will see more about that if we sort of prepare for war, and if something is going to happen, then data centers suddenly will be a legitimate target. Speaking again into the sovereignty talk of the world, that we actually need to be able to prepare and to work together. You've seen this slide before. It's test of our infrastructure, hybrid warfare. Ships that are going around in the Eastern Sea, dropping their anchor, accidentally cutting a cable. If they don't hit it the first time, they go around and try once again. That has not happened once or twice in the Eastern Sea, it has happened a lot. Also, physical cuts of cables in Finland has been seen, where they sort of see what is the impact if we do that. What does that mean? Someone is preparing to see what impact they can have on our infrastructure. They're preparing for shutting us down if we get into a real situation. And of course, they're also building mistrust to the sort of the population, towards government, towards the infrastructure that we think are always there. So going back to my first statement and talking about the sort of the reliability on Microsoft, Bill Gates said in a TV interview in a Swedish television in the beginning of the year, if you asked me 2 years ago, will Microsoft products always be available? He would have said yes. And now, at the interview, he said, ask me in 2 years. So we cannot rely on sort of we need to prepare for that something is happening to our infrastructure that we did not know would happen. And that is actually what we see, that we have all these threats, all the physical threats towards infrastructure, towards data centers, but we're also putting a lot of data out of our control. We're using SaaS application. Every time I have a new person from marketing or from HR, they ask me for a new application that they need to use in order to do their business. So we have some application, we put some data up there, and we try to remain in control of that. But how do we do that? Well, we work with basic IT hygiene, talking to people about what data is going there, how do you control it, things like that. But that also puts things out of our control. And then we then add AI to the equation, saying that, okay, now we also are forced to use AI. I spend a lot of time at Gartner conferences around the world, and they sort of have this hyperscale where they say, right now, everybody wants AI. 97% of CEOs says that if they don't have some AI implemented in their company within the next 6 months to a year, then they're going to lose money. At the same time, the CIOs are saying, we don't know what to use AI for. So we are putting a lot of things out of control. We made some surveys actually on sort of the how does we work with that and how do we think we can work with regulation when regards to AI. And sort of the biggest risk is that people don't really know what they're doing with AI. We have it in a lot of products. We have it as freeware coming in with browsers, things like that. And we are also implementing maybe OpenAI or Anthropic, but we kind of lose control. So in a situation where we want to take control back because the world is dangerous, at the same time we're doing a lot of stuff of giving away control. So that is difficult to work in an environment as a CISO, as a CEO, as a CIO, but it also sort of goes back to taking control in the old ways, having good thorough hygiene. We are also looking at AI in our company and trying to work with that. And something that is actually, I would say, interesting is that suddenly policy frameworks, governance controls are becoming important, even to board, even to people who did not have interest in it before. Because when you implement AI, one thing you really need is a thorough implemented data governance model. And that's also when we talk sovereignty, that we want to take control back. When I was at the parliament yesterday, actually, I had a talk with one of our spokesperson there, a Danish spokesperson. And we talked about, okay, are we getting rid of Microsoft? Are we building our own IT infrastructure in Europe next year? Probably not. Maybe probably not in the next 10, 20 years. Microsoft has a 40 years advantage, head spring, and we are not building that. But what we can do is sort of separate the things between application sovereignty and data sovereignty, meaning that we have the ability to access our data and migrate our data, either what happens. So if something happens with Microsoft, either it's political or it's physical, or something happens to other parts of our infrastructure, then we still have access to our data, and we still have the ability to migrate it to somewhere else. And that is what we sort of look at, that we have the data control, the local access. Funny enough, that is what Keepit do, taking the data down to a data center near to you. Coming from my background, I also like to have the ability to go somewhere, look at the rack and say, okay, my data might be up here in the cloud, but they're also here where I can actually see them and take them. And that is what people are beginning to request. That's also part of our success, that people say, okay, we sort of had a cloud strategy that worked for a long time, but now we're sort of pulling back, but we cannot pull out totally. You have the French authorities talking Linux and talking Mistral and all this kind of stuff, but it's not as good as some of the things that are coming for US. They had an advantage. They invest more money in this, so we're really on our back heel on this. So how do we have the advantages from all the technology that are there, and at the same time keep control? Well, that is to think about some of the old stuff that we used to work with ISO 27001. Some of this are also being implemented into regulations. The new Charta is coming up for Europe. You have the EU Data Act. All these things are coming that sort of oblige us to take control of our data. And NIS2 is also a good example of that, where you need to test and you need to exercise. Actually, that's all from me. And it's going back to sort of having the control of data to train, prioritize your critical data, your critical systems, and to make sure that you have the ability to get back on your feet if something is happening. Because hope is not a strategy. Then I leave it to Heuer.
Thank you. So I'm Michael Heuer. I'm heading up the DACH region, Germany, also Switzerland, and I would like to give you some insight into how customers here behave and what they're relating to. Because one thing is the global threat. The other thing is, to some degree, sometimes the reality and the budget reality in German, Austria, Swiss companies when they are facing these threats and how they're reacting on it. And let's dive into it. So as Kim has explained, and as we have outlined to you before, one of the key things we're doing, or the key thing that we're doing, is putting data out of the SaaS application and put it into our data center, and then make it independent. And that shared responsibility slide is actually something when I speak to customers or when I speak at conferences and there are lots of people in the audience, that's the slide that is most, how to say this in English, photographed? Yes, photographed, yeah. So they're making a lot of photos of this because that's something which sometimes I still believe is very new to potential, to the listeners of these presentations, because it's really like, oh, I have to take care of it. And I would like to repeat the story that when I was introduced to Keepit 4.5 years ago, that I thought like, it's another business idea I didn't have, because it's kind of obvious if your data is in the SaaS cloud or in the SaaS application, then you still have to take care of that. And so a lot of people just forgetting it. And if you think that is the case, even or not the case for large companies, I can confirm you that even large enterprise customers here in Germany, DAX companies, MDAX companies, lots of them still don't have anything in place. Yeah, and it's shocking if you look at all the threats we're having out there. The reality is a lot of them don't have it. And it's interesting to see what they're saying, because it doesn't matter that there's NIS2 and Kritis and DORA and whatever. They kind of find always a way how to position themselves in a way that they say, yeah, that might apply, but not really for SaaS. Or, we're not falling under NIS2. Okay, but you're a pharmaceutical company. So it can't be more clear that you are part of NIS2 or covered by NIS3. Well, maybe. Yeah, so it's fascinating to see. Now, of course, I can't throw any names here under the bus, but it's fascinating to see how many companies are kind of talking themselves into deep trouble in the near future, because sooner or later everybody will lose their data. Yes, please.
Sum it up, customers, are they reading that contract or not?
They're reading our contract for sure, because then they have made the decision to work with us. But if they're reading the other contracts, it's a different question.
There's a lot of fine print when it comes to Microsoft.
Sorry, say again?
There's a lot of fine print when it comes to Microsoft.
It's true. That's the reason why you can't read it here, but that's the reason we put these links into the slide so they can click on it and read it afterwards. Because very often we still have it like, we don't believe you. Yeah, well, okay, click on this stuff. That's official Microsoft documentation where they even tell you that. And here's the fun fact. Microsoft provides some kind of backup. Yeah, it's more like a copy of the tenant, but that's a different story. But if they offer something, and if you look at, funny enough, their launch statements they've made, it was kind of funny for me to read or to hear, because in the past I was working for companies like Mimecast or Proofpoint. Yeah, I was selling into that space. And the usual argument from the other side, either the IT guys or the Microsoft guys, is like, you don't need anything else. Your E3, E5 package is good enough in order to cover all your security needs. It's all well integrated, which is completely against NIST, but that's a different story. But the story there is that they're saying that you're so well protected, you only need that. And now, funny enough, when they launched their kind of backup product, they said like, if your tenant has been ransomwared, then or you encrypted and you have to pay ransomware money, then in this case, now we have a backup solution for you, which I found quite funny, because ultimately they're admitting they can't protect themselves. So therefore, yes, they should read that, but have they read it? I doubt.
They should.
Yeah. So I guess that's also the reason why Gartner, in the meantime, have finally woken up to the fact. So we have been hammered all the time, like, but you guys are not in the magic quadrant. True, because it's an infrastructure quadrant they're having, and only if you provide traditional, old school, important old school infrastructure backup, like some of our friends, then in this case, then you're in this quadrant. But if you're a modern solution, you're not. And you may want to ask Gartner what SaaS data protection solution they use. So it might be a solution that is being presented as we speak. So they are saying right now, and it kind of confirms what we are perceiving, only 20% of the companies are currently taking care of that topic. Yeah, it will be probably 80% later that century. That sounds amazing. So what do we do? And why we are different? 3 things I want to leave with you. We are future-proof, and we are focused on that whole topic. Yeah, one of our key differentiators is, and that's the reason why companies speak to us and buy from us, is we are the only one who has been really focusing on that topic for the last couple of years. Everybody else is coming from the infrastructure space and has moved somehow into the SaaS data space. We do it too. We don't do that. We have been focusing on this topic for many, many years. And that's important because only if you focus on it, you can really make sure you cover all the little nitty things in each SaaS application, because these applications are not static. They keep on developing and they keep on having more features. And it's not like Microsoft is calling us or any of the other SaaS vendors and telling us, by the way, we have this new feature in there. Can you please back it up? It's not how it works. And Mark will go into more detail about that a bit then later. So it's key that you have a player here in the market who is really focusing on that and is providing more and more SaaS applications, because more and more valuable data is sitting in that. That's the reason why customers buy from us. That's one of our big differentiators. We are focused on only that. Second, we are independent. And we heard about that from Kim, that there are more and more attacks. Customers start to realize it's not good enough if you put the data into the same kind of infrastructure in a wider sense, even if it's logically separated. Yeah, you have to have it separately. Yeah, the best solution is you have your own data center and you have an on-prem copy. Yeah, the second best is our solution. Yeah, the first solution becomes too expensive, and we can do way more things with our 4 copies of data and 2 different data centers in each of the different regions where we are. But the key differentiator is we have a completely independent infrastructure. That means you have access to your data even if the SaaS application is not there. We have many banks and insurance companies, especially because of DORA, where DORA clearly says you have to differentiate production data and production environment from the backup environment or the resilience environment. So they come to us because that's the only way how they can achieve that and have a scalable solution for the future, just future-proof, coming back to my previous slide. And last but not least, who of you guys who have some German culture background remember Otto?
Actually.
The comedy guy? Only one? Oh, yeah. Then it doesn't work. Otto. Yeah, Otto Walkes? Good. There was this very German song in the past, a Schlager song, which was Tränen lügen nicht. Yeah, and he was rephrasing it to Dänen lügen nicht, Danes don't lie. Yeah, it's a German joke. Forget it. So Germans can be funny, by the way. So we are a European company. Yeah, we have been founded in Denmark. And so that's a key asset by now and a key differentiator, because nobody can tell us what to do. Just because he has a new mood or some crazy ideas after watching Fox News. So therefore, we are having this kind of independence combined with being European, having those data sub-processors, which is key for many customers. And we have that specialism. Yeah, so these 3 points are the key points why customers come to us and talk to us. So, over to you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. So, hello again. Those I've met before. I'm going to go a bit deeper into what our data protection is. We've had the overview of why we do it and who we are. And this is our current coverage of our SaaS applications that we offer to our customers. So we now have 17 workloads. We launched a couple more in the last 2 months. We have others in development as well. But it's key to say here, Microsoft 365 and Entra are still our core offering. That's where we land the majority of our customers. So as well as offering new workloads, we're doing a lot of work in the maintenance of these existing workloads, continual enhancements as Microsoft give more features or make API changes. We have to make the relevant changes there to support that. But as Michael alluded to, as companies are moving more and more from on-prem into the cloud, we're finding that the M365 and the productivity tools are not now the only things they need to back up. They're now moving their HR system into the cloud or the finance system into the cloud, and those are business critical. Yeah.
On this point, when I see the future candidate and what expected later, it's still, of course, big softwares, but it's also American softwares. And in EU, even French government developed its own suite, La Suite. Do you have the idea also to be on this sovereign train?
Yep.
And to also back up all this kind of EU product and not only the American ones?
And in Wiegand on what Bertrand just said, do you offer or do you plan to offer a migration path as well?
Not currently, no. But it's something we're looking at. You'll see here we have OpenDesk and Nextcloud. And those are two things. I was at the Nextcloud Summit here in Munich last week. And we've had several requests to look at OpenDesk. And specifically Nextcloud and also Bleu in France as well. We've had some discussions around that. Because to the point my colleagues made earlier, with that sovereignty and...
Bleu, it's a Microsoft thing.
Yeah. The issue with, or the challenge, not issue, the challenge with OpenDesk is it's made up of 7 or 8 different providers, each with their own APIs and with their own standards. So it's not as, I know Microsoft have different APIs for their tools as well, but it complicates things, and we found some of the OpenDesk modules don't even have an API that or a mature enough API that we can use for backup and restore. They may be able to back up, but there's nothing to support incremental.
Maybe I can add to this. One of the key features we have is that you can still exit your data at all the time. As I explained, you have access to the SaaS data despite that the SaaS application is not there. And we're just talking to one of these independent providers here in Germany for a closer cooperation to be announced probably in the next 1 or 2 or 3 months. And it's also about OpenDesk. And there is a way actually how we can send data into it, because you can download PST files, for example, from our platform, or you can download the EML files, the emails, or you can get, of course, the downloads of the files. And then OpenDesk or OpenExchange, which is part of OpenDesk, is pulling the data into OpenExchange. You have a kind of migration path. It's a bit manual, but it's possible. And that's something where a lot of companies are looking at right now to set up OpenDesk and other solutions as a hosted or self-hosted thing, and then looking at those capabilities we are providing out of the box already, to then pull the data that way into their OpenDesk environment or OpenExchange environment. So there are ways already, but probably we can enhance them over time.
Yeah, and I was talking to a partner here in Munich at the summit last week around Nextcloud, because we're not a migration platform by default, we're backup. But if we can back up the Nextcloud data into Keepit, and then we use a partner who knows all about Nextcloud and can do the integration to do the migration aspect, then that's something we're looking into as well, because we're using the skills and the strengths of both organizations. So yes, it is something that we're looking into. I mean, we have to look at whenever we consider a new workload, whether it be an American one, a European one, or whatever, we have to look from a business point of view, how many customers are using it, how many users, what's the value of the data, will they pay for backup, is it viable for us, kind of thing. Yeah.
I can understand it by a business point of view, but there is another angle that you can see, that in fact that because they have the possibility to have a backup and to have the data somewhere else or whatever, it means it's justified still to have the dependencies to this kind of software. That means that, but don't worry, I don't risk any more than to have the key switch or whatever. If I was in Salesforce or whatever, I can go on. And with the logic of the bundle of this kind of software, ISVs, it means that it's justified to pay more and more for them, because I've got the belt to be sure that I'm okay. And I think that's a dangerous point, because the moment is to avoid the dependencies.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. Yeah, but yes, certainly. I mean, we're getting a year ago, 18 months ago, there wasn't very much traction or noise around OpenDesk or similar things, but now it is growing because of the geopolitical situation we're in. So we will be spending more time on that, and hopefully those APIs and those services will mature so that we can do more with them.
Judge on the GPI, Mythos, more and more we see that decide what they want to offer or not.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, you can see all the future candidates. I mean, this box changes, I change it probably twice a week, depending on the feedback we get from our partners, our customers, or we hear from our sales guys. There are 30,000 logos that could go in that future candidate box, so my boss would love it if we could do all of them, but we probably won't. But as I've said before, and for those who haven't heard, some of these big enterprise vendors, when we actually do a discovery and go and look at their service, sometimes they don't have an API or a mature enough API. They don't have an API that allow us to do incremental backup. They don't have a write API. They only have a read API. And some of the big names there are in that position as well. Or to the point that was alluded at earlier, they'll say to us, well, you don't have a use case. We have backup natively. And yes, a lot of SaaS vendors have backup natively, but it's for maximum 90-day retention. And if you want to do a restore, you have to put a ticket into their support desk to get the data back. And it's in cold storage, so it could take 24 hours to get that data back. So it's not, when they say we don't have a use case, we kind of can throw it back at them, really. But it's very interesting discussions we have around API. And as I mentioned before, there are also commercial and business limitations sometimes where they want revenue share or we have to pay a lot of money to be in their partner development program. So all this factors into what we pick out of that future candidate box to develop. But yeah, more and more of the real estate of companies being covered, that is our aim. And those logos will change over the next 6 months based on feedback and based on usage as well. But very exciting times. We'll soon have Autodesk Forma launched, and then GitLab is a big one that's coming up for us. Bit of a no-brainer now that we've done GitHub, and because GitHub had some incidents a few months ago, they're losing a few customers to GitLab, so it'd be good for us to build a GitLab workload. And then some more IAM stuff as well, so that's becoming more and more important as people look at identity access management and the security around that. So Auth0, which is an Okta product, we'll be looking at Bitwarden, 1Password, so the password management applications, Ping Identity as well, which has millions of users around the world. They're becoming more and more important, and we're getting more and more requests for those. Any questions before I move on?
What's your advice for the moment that like the customer is using 365 and literally hell breaks loose. Mr. Trump says, okay, we kill it. You don't have any access anymore. You have your backup. What should you do now?
There are several things you could do. You could try and find a migration tool to migrate to another tool like OpenOffice or something like that. Or, I don't know.
So which service was it?
M365. If
Okay,
Trump suddenly says you can't
yeah,
access it anymore.
Those examples exist.
Yeah, yes. So the key, of course, is that you have your data, because if
Yeah.
you don't have your data, you can do nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
with Keepit, you have your data, you can instantly access them also. So without thinking about restoring to something, you can give every single one of your users, you can give them a link, just a web link, where they can directly go and access their own OneDrive and the emails. So they can access that via the Keepit platform directly. So so you have a recovery time objective of 0, basically, or as fast as your script can send out the links. But then you need to have a place where you can work with the documents. And yes,
Yeah.
you can have the on-premise software. Presumably that can be remotely disabled, at least it can over time. But you will have things like OpenOffice and many other things are perfectly able to work with Microsoft Documents. There are many other email systems. I mean, you could migrate your emails to, I don't know, Proton Mail or any
So it's a
European
two-step thing, basically. You can get access to the data straight away. You can download it, you can preview it, you can look at it. All of your users can do that. But then to make it into a functioning system again, you would have to migrate it to something either on-prem or to OpenOffice or something like that. But your data is safe and, as Jakob said, instantly accessible. So you can see all of your SharePoint sites and whatever instantly.
Yes. But it is a very interesting question, and it is a question that a lot more people have started seriously thinking about the past year.
Yeah, especially because in IS2, you need to have something in place to do that. And
Yeah.
What I think would be interesting are two things from you guys, like a guide for what should you do if Alpha intrudes. And what should you do if you compare the licensing agreements from those SaaS vendors compared to NAS2? How can you be compliant to use those services?
Yeah.
Would you like to add something, Stefan?
Yeah, I would like to add something. I'm a Keepit partner. I also was a customer of Keepit before.
What's the name of the partner?
The name of the partner is All for Cloud
We'll get on.
Group, in the Evora Group. And I have 30 years practical experience on the customer side as a CIO, CISO, and other positions. And one important thing to your question, if you talk about M365, we must think about business continuity management.
Yes.
And this is one key thing. We just talk about data. Sorry. We must talk about something else.
Yes.
What is possible with Keepit as well. The identity backbone, the users, the groups, all the conditional access policies, all the configurations, and this data, you can grab it as well as JSON configuration files, and in best case, export it and ramp it up in Okta or where else in another different identity backbone and import it from the JSON. This is also possible with Keepit. Of course, you must build it, but that's one big thing we are doing as a partner. I will present later and explain you. But this is one really key important thing. Don't only focus on the data, we must focus on the identity backbone, on the configurations. Yeah, when somebody is using M365, Intune, endpoint management, super cool tool. But if it's not, if you can't access it anymore, your tenant is gone because of a cyber attack or whatever, you are stuck as a company. And your business stops now.
Yeah.
And you must find a solution. And also with Keepit, one cool thing is you could ramp up if Microsoft would still exist and we could use it in the EU. Still no export stop like what was happening the last days with Anthropic. Yeah? If this would still be possible with Keepit, one cool thing is with the cross-tenant restore, you can ramp up a red tenant as a disaster recovery tenant and then ramp up the complete stuff again. I will explain later such concepts. Okay?
Just a follow-up on this point, because we've got a survey report that shows that in fact the choking point is this kind of migration. It's not M365, it's Outlook by itself. And how do you manage to help your customers as partners? Because their problem is not M365. It's how to migrate my messaging application. How do you manage that? It's not just a configuration file to the...
Yeah.
So again, building on that, and I'm really conscious of time, so I have to discuss that later, so I'm not getting killed here, right? Two things. First, the observation that all of this is really nice to do backups and restore, because organizations need to have, as you said before, business continuity. So what happens if the service is done? What happens? We need to migrate. You cannot have this discussion in isolation without the aspect of how do we ensure how can we move, how do we migrate, right? So it will be interesting to discuss later with you guys. How do you do that? Do you plan to do that? If you don't care about that, you work with partners, first thing. Second thing is, I'm seeing a lot of mainstream applications in current cloud and future candidates, but I'm not seeing any, and maybe I need to change my glasses, but I'm not seeing anything specialized, for example, in specific vertical. For example, I'm not seeing anything in the biotech industry, life sciences. I don't see Viva here, for example. And these are mission critical systems. I work in pharma for 15 years almost. I can tell you that regulatory compliance, reporting, and that is absolutely essential. Organizations are moving from on-prem systems to stuff like Viva. And I guess it's a place where a lot of money is to be made. So I'm not seeing that here.
I'm coming from the biotech.
Yeah. So just
I'm coming from the biotech company.
Yeah.
We can talk later.
No, that also feeds into what goes into the future candidate box, because do we concentrate on a business vertical, like biochemical or pharmaceutical or legal, or do we concentrate on a functional vertical like IAM solutions, across the board? And that's something we're constantly appraising. And that's why actually Autodesk Forma, which used to be called Autodesk Construction Cloud, and none of us in my team had heard of it until 6 months ago, and then suddenly we had a lot of customers asking for it. And that's business critical to most construction companies in the world who use it. iManage is another one that every global leading law firm in the world uses iManage. And again, we haven't heard about that, but we've had so many requests for it. But it's something we can constantly consider, whether we go down a certain route, a certain vertical, or a certain functional route.
Maybe
Yes, and to complete also the question that you both asked, there is also, when you speak about continuity and migration, how long does it take? Is it hours, days?
That would
months?
depend on the amount of data. I mean, we can't, and that comes back to also, we can give hints and we can give templates and we can give ideas about how you recover from a disaster, but every customer will have their own nuance, yeah? They have the on-prem version so they can migrate directly to that. They already have OpenDesk sitting as a backup solution with a migration tool that they've already got in-house ready for such a disaster. We can give tips and hints and ideas about how you could migrate, but every customer's disaster recovery plan is different, basically.
And in most times outdated.
And
Yes.
most times out of
Not
date and not
tested.
tested. Yeah. Just a minor problem. Okay, so this segues very nicely into what we thought for this session. Those of you who've been before, is instead of just listening to us all day, we'd bring somebody in who knows us and deals with Keepit and Keepit customers on a daily basis. So I'd like to welcome Stefan, who is from All for Cloud, one of our big, most valuable partners here in the DACH region. And he's going to give you his view of Keepit and the world.
Yes. Hello. Because nobody of you knows me, I'm going to explain who am I. So by training, I'm a scientist. I've studied chemistry here in Munich. Okay. But during my university time, I was doing software development already. I'm now 53, so it's many years ago when I was doing it. I was developing a CRM system for a TV station here in Munich. And then I went into IT, I went into enterprise IT. I was working at ProSieben for 10 years in the enterprise IT department. And there I learned digital resilience because their digital transformation was happening for TV broadcasting. It was the time when I was there 10 years where broadcasting was digitalized, okay? And there I learned digital resilience because as a TV station, sending a black screen is losing money, okay? And in the past, it was even worse than today because today the business is a little bit more different, multidimensional. After this 10 years, I went into the biotech industry, in the higher regulated pharmaceutical industry, biotech industry. I started here at a German biotech company. It's called MorphoSys, or it was called MorphoSys. The company was 90 people when I joined the company. And then I stayed there for 20 years, helped the company to develop the biotech company to a global biopharmaceutical, fully integrated commercial company. At the end, we were around about 1,000 people globally. My IT department was around about 60 people running IT business. And we were already there, and it's around about 10 years ago, I decided to move into the cloud. We were running really cool data centers, fully compliant with GXP compliance, pharma compliance, whatever. And then we jumped into the cloud with SAP. It was the first time I got in contact with the company I'm now working for. Okay? So I was implementing with All for Cloud, SAP in the cloud, 10 years ago. And then I left the company because MorphoSys was getting to be acquired by Novartis. And then now the company is no more existing. They are completely gone from the market. That's my journey. The last years I went into smaller companies, scale-ups, where I moved the companies completely in the cloud, on a cloud-first approach. And I was facing the problem that I was working in an insurtech SaaS company here in Munich. And we had big contracts to be signed by Allianz and HDI. And they did not accept our SaaS resilience concept. I had to look at how do I protect my Microsoft 365 and my Entra ID? How do I do it in the right way? And these companies did not accept the solutions we were using. And I don't want to say the names, okay? So I went into a way rational decision making and I analyzed the market. And this is one thing where I'm coming from, and this is the thing which I'm going to build up now. I'm going now to build up this ARC, architecture, resilience, and control. Just to make it simple, we do digital resilience engineering. And that's a completely different way which was done in the market before. We are looking at Keepit, and I will explain how we look at the market, at Keepit, at the product in a completely different way. And that's all the reason why the guys of Keepit asked me, hey, could you explain your perspective on Keepit? So that's from my side. And now, since 1.5 years, I'm in the consulting. Last year, I was working in a Microsoft partner, and I was also doing some cyber incidents, cyber crisis management. I will start with one simple insight of a CEO. It was a cyber incident. I was working with my team, and I explained the C-level of the company the problem of the cyber incident. This company was full stack. They were completely encrypted, and they were having a problem. It was quite simple. I don't want to tell you the name of the company, but it was a user of a VPN appliance, and this was hacked. It was out of control. And then at the end, for testing reasons, the IT was a little bit under resources, not enough budget. This account for testing purposes was getting domain admin rights in the Active Directory, and with this in the cloud or global admin rights. And this was the way the hackers went in. And the company was really, they were nearly by getting bankrupt, but they survived. And at the end, when after I explained the problem, and it was really stupid and simple, the CEO just said, digital resilience is not a luxury. And that's the thing where I'm going to ramp up the business. And one of the key pillars is Keepit we are using. And I will clearly say digital resilience for any company defines the tomorrow. If a company does not look on their digital resilience, they end up in digital fragility. Yeah? They are really in a big problem. Yeah? With shadow IT, with shadow AI, with technical debts, with legacy systems on premise, with growing cyber risks. Yeah, these guys are using AI as well. Cloud Mythos is out. No, export stop, only inside the US. Maybe the hackers in the US now are using Cloud Mythos still because they can use it. But this is really a key topic. And also, and with cloud and SaaS, yeah, any SaaS provider is telling companies, business, CEOs, whatever, with SaaS, with cloud, your IT is getting more simple. Sorry, that's wrong. It's getting more complex, more dependency on whatever. Yeah? Before you had your data center, you had your storage provider, your server provider, you had some partners, it was working. But now it's getting more and more complex. And this digital fragility is the main topic. Yeah? And at the end, and that's the way how we help, and that's the way also how Keepit helps, yeah? You get the control and the complexity under command. You can really control it. Again, you ensure business continuity, and at the end, then you gain, again, IT resources, and you can accelerate your digital transformation again. Because many companies, many digital transformation projects fail because the IT resources are completely overwhelmed. They are underwater, and they need different solutions. And that's the way how I'm going to look at it. One example, and we had the discussion with M365 and Entra ID. The identity backbone, if we talk about Entra ID or if we talk about Okta for example, do you know that GitHub repositories were breached some years ago? Yeah? Mm-hmm. The source code is out there. So if the hackers have got the source code of Okta, I don't want to ask you what you think now. Yeah? But many companies, many large companies are using Okta as their identity backbone. And if hackers get access to the identity backbone, they can shut it down. And in worst case, it's like in a hotel, if you have got your hotel room card, Yeah, if somebody gets access to the room where you can control the access control system, then it's gone. And that's the way what is happening now. It's not about ransomware and encryption anymore. It's identity backbone attacks, getting companies completely busted. And that's a big problem. And at the end, everything is lost. The identity backbone and anything else is under the control of cyber criminals. And that's a topic. And that's one key topic why I'm going to sell Keepit to customers, why you do digital resilience in a different way. And maybe you know such a picture, but today we have got a growing problem. It's a typical iceberg infrastructure. Yeah? Above the water surface, everything looks fine. But below the water surface, you have got really very many difficulties. Yeah? Dependencies. You have got shoddy IT, technical debts, all these things. It's a big problem. And one problem is coming with each and every system you put in with SaaS. There's no independent backup in place. Of course, some SaaS providers provide basic backup. We are an SAP partner. SAP S/4HANA public cloud ERP system, for example. SAP provides a basic backup. It's a snapshotting of the system, and you can jump back to this instance, to a snapshot. But if you work in a regulated industry like biotech, pharmaceutical companies, you need an additional backup for compliance reasons. Also, if you're a financial industry, for DORA compliance or NIS2, you need a different backup. And the big problem is really, if somebody is changing things, for example, in Entra ID, an administrator is changing conditional access policies, in worst case, they lock themselves out. No more admin access. That's on. It's happening. I had this last year when I was working at the Microsoft partner. We were having incidents with Microsoft getting this solved, but it may take days that the company gets back access to their Entra ID. So this is really a big problem. And at the end, I would say SaaS resilience, what Keepit is providing, is really a critical business capability today for any company. Because your data is there, your identities are there, your configurations are there. In best case, the complete security baseline configuration is there. Entra ID, Defender setup, if you use Microsoft Defender, the complete Intune setup where you manage your security baselines for all your endpoints, all these things are there. Yeah? Plus sensitivity labels, all the other things, data governance, whatever. Yeah? In worst case, also the data is living in the cloud. I don't know if you know Dataverse. It's a cool thing. You can ramp up by this cool power platform. You can ramp up data tables in the cloud. But these data tables are not backed. It's a big problem. Okay? Well, that's really the topic where, at the end, if you look in not only in the regulated industry, you have got a loss of traceability, and at the end, it's creating really a business impact if data is lost. Yeah? If somebody is deleting data in a SharePoint site, or let's play a game. A customer is using AI, creating a SharePoint agent, and is not telling the SharePoint agent, don't delete outdated data. Maybe the SharePoint agent would delete data. In worst case, it's in the trash, and then it's getting deleted. After 60 days, it's gone. And then the company is looking for old data. Oh, it's gone, it's deleted. Where is it? It's lost. Yeah? And that's the topic. And many companies rely on Microsoft 365 on, yeah, we have got the paper bin, and then the admin paper bin, and that's our backup concept. Sorry, that's stupid. Yeah? Just to be frank. And that's the topic around digital fragility, and that's the way I have done IT management in the last 30 years. And I have learned this at the TV station, and I extended this more and more. And there are 7 dimensions, 7 questions we, as a partner, ask how to measure, at the end, digital fragility. Normally, we started on an organizational level. Then we go deeper on the business capability layer in combination with how critical are these business capabilities, how much value do you generate with these business capabilities. And then you have got the mapping on the application level. And then there, the questions are asked on the application level as well. And that's the same way we look at Keepit. And I'm going to explain you now why we only recommend and sell Keepit to customers and nothing else. And one important thing is, we as Alpha Cloud, Evora, and Arc, we make digital resilience the invisible backbone of the success of our customers. And one pillar is Keepit. So let's look at.
For you. You said you recommend Keepit to everybody. Have you tried something else?
Yes. I have tried something else. We are running a competitive intelligence, and that was the journey where I started with Keepit. Yeah. 6 years ago, I was getting on research in internet. I was looking around. I was an IT lead in an insurtech SaaS company here in Munich, and this was the story I told, where we needed a different solution. Yeah, and I was looking at the different VM on Other. Yeah, okay. And there we have got a quite comprehensive competitive intelligence in place. Based on these 7 dimensions, we analyze all the competitors. And for these are the 7 clusters. And these 7 clusters, we are having around 100 different criteria where we are going to analyze the products. Okay. In real as well. It's a combined approach. So we are really running this competitive intelligence analysis on an ongoing, because Keepit is changing, other partners are changing as well. So that's the same. Yeah?
Can you name some of the competitors you had a look up?
For example, VM, AvePoint, Cohesity, Rubrik, Backupify, this thing which is sold by Telecom and
Sidekick.
Yes, and Microsoft 365 backup. I don't know why Microsoft is selling this, or customers go for this. What else? Commvault. Yeah. When I was working this 20 years in biotech pharmaceutical company, we were running Commvault on premise. Yeah. At the end, it was a backup system, for example, and this is the transparency, which is one of the key things I would recommend the customer. Keepit is simplicity. If I look at Commvault Enterprise Backup on premise, it's a super cool tool. But at the end, I had a situation as a CIO. One of my backup administrators who was trained on the Commvault quit. He said, "Oh, I'm going to leave. I've got a better offer in a different company." Then we only had one backup administrator in place. And we were depending on the people. Yeah, because running Commvault backup, enterprise on-premise backup, is really complex. You must be trained, and it's so complex to administrate. And I was having sleepless nights because one of my back administrators was gone. Okay, and that's also one thing where I say combination of the simplicity with the intuitive way how you use Keepit. Yeah, in best case, if you ask an 11-year-old kid, can you restore me this email? It's called this and this topic, let's say apple tree. An 11-year-old kid will be able to recover the data. It has never been using such a thing before, but with Keepit, they can do it. It's so intuitive, it's so logic, that at the end, they find it, okay? It's a quite interesting experiment you can do. And I would say, of course, I don't say a CEO must be able to do a recovery, but if a CEO in a company could use Keepit to restore data, if all the IT guys, for whatever reason in a disaster recovery are not available, then it's a good solution. And so these 7 dimensions, I clearly say Keepit is excellent. You may ask me now, how much did these guys pay me? Nothing, okay? Just to be clear. But I've got 3 points where I would say I see some challenges at Keepit. Yeah? Because the product itself, it's cool, but I see 3 challenges. It's the ownership. which may change. Why do I bring this on the table? In the past, I was using a tool, it was called KVS Enterprise Vault, email archiving tool for on-premise exchange. Cool tool, cool solution, super company. At the end, they were acquired by Symantec, and then the product was getting, we were looking for a different product. It was a big problem. Yeah.
I see another point, because Keepit is just SaaS. It means that if you want to have a 3-2-1-0 practice, you need to have something which is a physical air gap somewhere, which you certainly not on Keepit. It means that you have to combine different solutions. Or maybe you have
we have an option for downloading data.
A trend solution somewhere to have a hybrid environment.
I would even say, if you look at this golden backup rule, 3-2-1, Keepit is even better. Okay. 2 data centers, completely separated.
Yeah, but for the one which is the air gap, where is it?
The air gap, you may?
Yes. So in the cloud world, of course, you cannot take your physical tape and I will just go up here. So sorry. So in the cloud world, of course, you cannot take your tape and move it to the tape vault. So we have to abstract that out. We use write-only storage. So we have so we cannot the replication of data between the data centers happens on systems where you can only append data, which means you cannot replicate over a deletion of data or modification of data. You can only add, which means that in the event of so you should not see the replicated storage like a classical replicated storage, where if you delete files over here, then they also delete it over here. That is not how that can work. So that is our cloud take on the closest thing we can do to your tape vault in a connected world. We do have, so as Michael was pointing out, we have for some customers had an option where they could have a local copy of a part of the data set, so that they could have a box of storage in their own basement where they could pull out the plug if they wanted to. That has been, I mean, we have worked with different needs over time. This is not a popular option. This is generally not something customers go for.
These two, it will become more and more asked.
Maybe. These things are hard to.
Air gap can be replaced by immutability or offline. And basically, you provide immutability.
Yes.
That is the replacement of air gap. You should have or air gap, or immutability, or offline.
Yeah.
Not necessarily all of three.
I think sometimes you must rethink the technologies and the compliance requirements in a different way. And I think Keepit is quite a better answer than 3-2-1. It's more, I would clearly say. So there are 3 things for me. The ownership I explained. Another thing is people can leave in a company. Yeah? Maybe key people are asked by a competitor, paid enough money, and they are leaving the company. So at the end, but as Keepit is now growing more and more, I see this risk reduced as well. And of course, the other topic is, I was working in larger companies. At ProSieben, the company was growing from 1,500 people to 4,500 people. Or the biotech company I was working, we were growing from 90 people to 1,000 people in these waves. Sometimes we had a wave, 300 people, beginning of the year, like Keepit, end of the year, 600 people. I know this challenge, and this is a challenge for Keepit as well. This is also a thing where I say, beside all these excellent topics where Keepit is really top, these are 3 challenges I see. And I hope, and I'm quite happy to see Keepit moving the right way more and more. Keepit. We've been talking about backup and these things, but I see Keepit completely beyond backup. I see it as an added value. Yeah? And there are some certain things, me as a customer and also as a partner, with the practical experience, I see, I would say, 5 really added values clearly with Keepit. On the one end, the identity backbone, is really, it's important. And getting the identity backbone set up in a resilient way is super important. Tiered business continuity management. Business continuity management, if you think it in the way of cloud computing, Microsoft 365, Entra ID, you must think about a tiered approach. You must define in your infrastructure what are the most important identities, OneDrive, mailboxes, which need to be restored priority 1 in the first step, then in the second step, then the third step, and the fourth step. Really to prioritize, to segment your backup for business continuity management, to at the end create a tiered business continuity management approach. And this is one thing we are doing, and this is also one, I would see, unique selling point for Keepit, because based on Entra ID security group memberships, you can define and segment the backup in Keepit. And if you have got a logic where these tiered business continuity management groups are populated dynamically, you're changing your business continuity management from a static paper, which is not testing, to a living business capability. Okay? Cyber incident isolation layer. I have got customers who have got a red tenant in place for Entra ID Microsoft 365, where if something happens, they can ramp up the tenant, populate licenses, do a cross-tenant restore, and start with their key disaster recovery team to start using the services as before. OneDrive, Teams, Exchange, with all the data in their OneDrives and mailbox, and also in Teams. Customers don't have anymore this red file in their office with printed out business continuity plans. No, they have got the Teams space in place where all this critical information is stored. It's in the backup and Keepit. And in worst case, if the disaster happens, they access the business continuity management data information, the plans, how I'm going to recover all the playbooks, they access it in Keepit directly. And that's really a different way how you can look at Keepit as well. So with the red tenants, you can really then ramp up quite fast your company again, and your disaster recovery team can work on it. Also, and this was a discussion we were having before, the vendor exit and data portability strategy. We are concretely discussing with customers exactly this topic. And companies, the first step for this, because there's not yet a solution in place, but the first step is have the data in place completely independent from hyperscalers, from Microsoft, whatever. And at the end, customers can use the data, including identities, configurations, in JSON data format. Why not? You can use it. But this is really an important topic, and I see it more and more. And I see it also in a way that at the end, like the guys from Keepit mentioned, discussions with Open Desk, with Open Office, with Nextdocs and whatever, it's really important. And we must get there, moving on. Because like what happened in the last days, the export stop of Anthropic models, I explained this to my 11-year-old daughter, and she said, why does he do it? I just said, because he can do it. And that's a big topic. And we must think digital resilience everywhere. So, oops, what was this? Okay, now this is nearly the final slide from my end. We, as a partner, we combine Keepit with another tool, SAP Linux, and we provide this logic to have a tiered business continuity management in place, where at the end we use a unique selling point from Keepit to segment your backup connectors in a tiered approach, at the end that the customer can really ramp up their business on a priority step by step. And I would hand over now to Patrick. But do you have any questions to me?
Yes.
Jakob, sorry.
Excuse me.
Oh, those are questions.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I don't have
If I follow your story, the identity management is really, really, really key.
Yeah.
You have like an extremely smart architecture or other things that people mostly overlook that should be really implemented to have like a resilient identity management.
You mean an alternative?
No, not an alternative, but if you look at the complete architecture that most companies are using, could they do something better, or is there something key really overlooked in your opinion? If you go to a new customer and say, I have a look at your identity management, and you're doing again this thing wrong, or could be done better?
Hey, maybe you can just one slide back. Yeah, if we look at the iceberg, that's a big. Or let's jump a little bit more slides back. Let's get on this picture here.
Yeah.
Here in the middle, that's the identity backbone where the hackers sit here.
Yeah.
And the big problem is that at the end, everything depends on it. Yeah. And if you do this digital fragility analysis, you're ending up that this is getting one of the key applications. And in most companies, it's the topic.
Yeah.
And
how can you do it better?
How you can do it better?
Yeah. How can you get it more resilient or
more resilient?
Or safer or better?
Quite simple. You use Keepit, you implement a red tenant, and you implement a tiered business continuity management in a way where at the end you are able to recover fast, and you build it this way. Yeah? And this is the answer from my end. Because having an alternative identity management system in place, like Okta or whatever, it's the same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah? But if you do it in a resilient way, you have to keep it in place. You can do a cross-tenant restore. That's the unique selling point, another one of Keepit. And then you have got a red tenant in place. With your Microsoft licensing partner, you have arranged that you can ramp up very fast the Microsoft licenses. And then you're running the tiered business continuity management approach that in the first, you have got a priority group 1. You restore first. And then you're going to ramp up the services. Then you can do the communication again. All these things for this small crisis team. And then you extend the team, and then you do this staggered approach. And one cool benefit is also in Keepit with the backup connectors, this priority group 1, which is really the most urgent group, you do a backup cycle more often. Yeah? In worst case, changes are happening, and you have got this snapshot from 2 hours ago. Easy going, don't care. Yeah? And that's a way how we are having the answer in place, how to make the identity backbone completely resilient. Because in best case, ramping up the crisis management team, the disaster recovery team, there was a question around how long does it take? If you have got a team of, let's say, in a company with 1,000 users, normally the team is around about 20 people. Doing this, a recovery to a new tenant, takes 1-2 hours, that's it. And then it's up and running. But you must have prepared it, and that's the way how we do it. Okay? And that's the answer then, because I would love to have a sovereign identity backbone here in the EU or in Germany, but it's not existing right now. I'm pretty sure it's happening. It will be happening. It must happen. Yeah? But at the end, it's not in place. And the other topic is, just think about Microsoft 365 and Entra ID as a platform. And I don't go to customers and say, you're using Microsoft, no backup, bullshit. Don't do it. No, sorry. I say to customers, cool, good solutions. If I would be the CIO, I would decide for Microsoft 365 as well, but I would use, for example, the E5 security license and completely pull all features and use everything, because Microsoft 365 or Microsoft is, from a security point of view, I would say one of the best systems in the world. Why? Just look at the numbers. Last year in 2025, Microsoft was processing per day in 24 hours 100 billion security events. That's a number, it's amazing. You can read it, it's published. And now it's even more with the noise which is coming from cybercrime based on AI. So, my clear message to customers is, hey, go for it. Microsoft 365 is good, but think about it. Think about the digital fragility. We show you, we do the analysis, and then you understand why we are here to help you closing the gaps. Yeah? And that's our message. And then, of course, if the customer comes and is asking questions like you, yeah, but how can we make Entra ID, the identity backbone, more resilient? We have got a plan. We can do it, yeah, in a tiered approach, for example. And then customers are getting happy because it's a complete different approach. Yeah? And just to be clear, I would say not many other Keepit partners are doing it this way as we do it. But that's my experience, my practical experience from 30 years being in IT. As an admin guy, as a techie guy, also in the C-level. So I was in all positions, and I have got a different point of view to look at it.
Could it make sense to use Keepit only for this Entra ID?
Yes, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
enterprise, and
Sure.
they have their SaaS
Yes.
applications, they have
Yeah.
their existing landscape with
Yeah.
backup recovery.
Yeah, sure.
And they go
Sure.
for Keepit only for this Entra ID.
And I don't have the slide with me. Yeah, I could present you a slide. If you look, let's say, if you go back the last 20 months, the main cyber attacks were on the identity backbone. You don't read no more much things about ransomware attacks, whatever. It's no more interesting. They want to get into the identity backbone because identity is now the main attack vector. And that's happening, yeah? And that's a big topic. And there, the companies, the resilience is also a big problem. It's in most discussions I have got with customers, it's a topic where the CIO or CISO is then sitting there and, oh, Steffen, you are right. We have not been thinking about it. Because it's cloud, it's just working. Yeah? And that's a big topic. Okay? Any further questions? Or later? I'm happy. Good. Then?
Yeah. Great. So I did not bring any slides. I will try to round this off and then, of course, invite any questions you may have. So, I had this thought about, I bought a digital SLR camera many years ago and some nice objective lenses for it. But when I'm on holiday with my family, I usually don't bring it. So I have my phone. It has a camera. It's not the best camera in the world, technically, but it's the camera that I have. And that's this concept that, so the best camera in the world is no good if it's at home. The best camera in the world is the camera that you bring with you. And this was a really interesting point, I think, with that Stefan made about the competitive landscape of the backup tools. That you can have these checklists where you're comparing, which is the best tool. Well, the tool that you can use is the best tool. Right? So you may have one tool with a longer checklist than another, but if nobody knows how to use it, that is not going to help you. So we certainly live in interesting times, and both Kim and Mark alluded to this, the development of the new workloads and this changing picture of what is it that we solve. So Max, you had an interesting question. I'm not sure we answered that properly we got the full answer for that, where you asked around these the recovery and the migration. So when we started with Keepit, the thing that was on everyone's mind was ransomware. How do I get back from ransomware? Everyone had the assumption that, of course, Microsoft is not going away. I just need a way to restore back into Microsoft. And we made a solution for that. We addressed that. Today, some people are asking, well, if I'm shut out of Microsoft, I mean, no one thinks Microsoft is going to fail, but you may not be able to be a Microsoft customer anymore. If that happens, what do I do? And that is something where Mark has some things on his slides that are on our roadmap that we can have timelines on and that we are comfortable announcing. But as Kim was alluding to, I mean, we are in talks with many different interested parties around Europe because Europe seems to really be waking up to this new reality. So partner companies like Stefan's and many others that are looking at helping companies have some way of continuing working if they are shut out of Microsoft or other systems. So a lot is going on. I think Europe is really waking up to this challenge, and we are certainly trying to be an important part of that puzzle. Yes.
I was wondering, do your customers consider the backups that they store at your place, data centers, as a kind of resource of knowledge, for instance? Going way back to 2007, that's a long time.
Yeah. Yes.
So would you help them to make use of this resource, to leverage it?
That's a really important, so part of this changing, right? So the threat landscape has changed, and therefore the way that we are perceived as a product is also changing. Where it used to be just how do I get back the file that got ransomware? That changed over time to also how do I have a copy of my data somewhere in Europe, please, and that has further evolved. So now where everyone is talking AI, but even leaving AI aside, we sit on this goldmine of data. I mean, we have this the history of your company data set over the years. Mm-hmm. If you can access that, there are things that, I mean, presumably there are things that you will be able to do with AI tools that may be useful to you, but there may presumably also be things you can do with other analytical tools that may be useful for you. So that and
but I want your analytical tool, if you have them.
So that's actually interesting. So would you so I'm sorry for flipping this around. I'll ask you a question. Would you want us to build those tools, or would you want us to open up so that tools, a broad array of tools, could use our data sets?
It's a question of trust.
Yeah.
Do I trust you?
Yes.
I trusted you with my data.
Yes. Yeah.
Do I trust your reports?
Yes. Yes. But that is a good point. It clearly moves us into I mean, building analytical tools is a whole separate business, right? There's a lot.
No, I'm thinking of Cohesity Gaia.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. They've just got a patent for that.
Yes.
I think it depends just if this type of data are just for your own AI automatization or whatever on your platform, or if you want that this data, backup data, becomes a production data for AI, LLM or SLM, and it's totally different. Do I use my backup to do AI, like ChatGPT or whatever? Do I have a copy of my backup somewhere to do AI? It's totally different what you want in production. And I think that the best is not to touch the backup and to have somewhere a copy and not to touch it anyway. Yeah.
So we're certainly seeing, I think that there's a change of perception in what a backup is. So having people beginning to realize that a true backup such as Keepit is an immutable history of your data.
Yeah, immutable, it's great to get on somewhere, it's immutable, it's fantastic. But the new trend is exfiltration of data.
Yeah.
Immutable data could be exfiltrated. Mm-hmm. And today the problem is exfiltration is no more to cipher the data. That's the problem. That's why if I run an active backup today, which serve for AI, with all the rules that AI could have,
Yeah.
I have a big risk
Yes.
to exfiltrate my own backup data.
Sure. Yes.
That's why I say, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
To activate.
Yeah.
this
Yes,
back.
yes,
That's all.
yes. So just to cover that particular thing, I mean, we are very clear that we are not taking customer data sets and shoveling them into AI services. That is not something that you're going to see us do. So we are very aware of the trust that people place in our solution. We are opening up for customers being able to connect. So we have an MCP service where a customer will be able to use, should they choose to do that, they will be able to use whichever AI infrastructure they use and have that interface with Keepit. Right now, in a somewhat restrictive fashion where you can use it for analytics, right? So are my backups working as I expect? You could imagine over time this evolving into things like orchestration of restores, if it turns out that is actually a reasonable way to go. But you will not see Keepit shoveling customer data sets into AI services. What we may offer interfaces to allow customers to use this immutable record of the data sets. That can be useful for many purposes. We may open up for that, but you will not see us shoveling the data sets out there. So. Yeah.
Another point. It's a surprise because you are the only one that doesn't say that you add AI agents to automatize in your solution. Is there a purpose on that, or because you don't believe in the AI agent for your solution?
Well, we believe in opening up for this, but we believe that customers should make their own choices for where the data goes. So and that comes. I mean, it's the very strong. I mean, the EU. The start we had in the EU, I mean, when we were starting up, when the GDPR was coming out, we've been very, I mean, we grew up with the regulatory framework of the EU, right? So this is different from a US-born company where you have a completely different...
It means that you won't develop your AI agents to automatize everything on the platform. That's the answer.
Yeah, that's refreshing, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and
so
a lot of our customers do when we say we're taking a very cautious approach to AI. They're great, love that, yeah. Rather than just here's some agents.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're a security company and it's their data and it's critical for them. Yeah, we can't expose that or risk exposing that at all. So
yeah. I mean, there are things you can do if you're a Twitter client, and there are things that you can do when you're a security company, and those are different.
So are you really going to offer an AI agent, or is this just AI washing?
No.
Yeah.
So we have the MCP interface.
The gateway would be the MCP server.
Yeah. So the MCP interface would allow you as a customer to do whatever you like to with your.
Bring your missions.
Bring your own agent. Yes. Thank you.
Bring your own agent.
And basically, the MCP allows the customer or the user to have an interactive conversation with our API endpoints to say, what's the status of, I mean, we have out-of-the-box reports that obviously give the customers this, but they can, certain nuances and get specific analytics out about their backups and then tabulate it, put it into reports for their boss or whatever. But it's not actually exposing the customer data. And we do that for customers and for partners now.
Yeah, there's another angle to that, and that's the immutability. That actually when you have messed with AI in your data, you can go back with our solution to a point where you have not have AI done anything or looked at the data. And I think that will also be a strong point going forward.
But immutability has also another problem for it. Just because normally it's subject. It means that every time you create a new object, you don't erase. And after, for AI, which version of the object I use for my AI? And it means that you have also to establish some rules to say, so last version of this object. It becomes more and more complex.
What was the original question you asked?
No, but and probably, I mean, you can see that. I mean, your backup history is going to be like an audit trail, actually. I mean, which versions of this document existed over time? So it was. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I was also looking for some sort of commercial advantages of keeping this huge record, immutable record.
Yeah.
For instance, I don't know, if you look at Hammerspace, if that's a name that you know, Hammerspace has this global file management, okay, all over the place. And you can move the data that you need for a certain workload from A to Z, yeah, to get some commercial advantages from that. Because at location A, something is more expensive than in location B, and so forth. So some people, some companies, they look for these kind of
maybe I could.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in there because we as a Keepit partner provide exactly such things as Keepit add-ons.
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we provide several Keepit add-ons. One is for data offloading. Yeah.
Exactly.
You now have learned myself. I was on the business side. And if you want to use Microsoft 365 in a cool way, the topic is that at the end you need somehow governance tools. But what do these governance tools do with Microsoft Teams and SharePoint? They put handcuffs to the users. And the users are running again and again to IT, hey, I need this, and then IT is somehow, at a certain time, they say, okay, let's switch off these governance tools. They don't make any sense. What makes more sense is freedom, using Teams, SharePoint, whatever. The problem is, it's like growing mushrooms. It's popping up everywhere, and then you must get it under control, also from a FinOps perspective, because SharePoint storage costs are popping up then on your bill.
Exactly.
And this is one thing where we have got a Keepit add-on, for example, that we analyze the usage of Microsoft 365 and Teams and SharePoint sites and delete the old stuff. And the owner of this team space receives an email with a secure sharing link to Keepit, now also with SSO access enabled, additional access controls. And then the ex-owner of this team space can access the old data, and we don't inform the user like other governance tools do. Do you still need your team space? What happens? The user clicks one time in, and then it's used again for the next 3 months. No, we delete it, and we can simply restore it, recover it, or the Teams space owner just access the data, can use it, copy it somewhere else to a new team space. This is one thing. The other thing is the typical user lifecycle you have got in the company. And that's also for cost reduction of customers. SharePoint storage costs we reduce with this Keepit add-on to take all the unused stuff away and provide access in the Keepit read-only. The other thing for the user lifecycle, big companies are wasting money for Microsoft licenses. For what reason? Because if some people leave the company, they want to keep the OneDrive and Mailbox available for months.
Exactly, that's the point.
Yeah, we have got the solution in place. Delete at midnight, the last day, delete your user, delete the OneDrive and Mailbox. It's gone. It's in Keepit. And with an HR approval, the ex-line manager gets access after approval by HR to the OneDrive and the Mailbox in Keepit. That's it. And then you can kick it out. Yeah? And that's the topic, the added value.
Let me quickly add one thing to it, and I kind of missed it earlier. Yeah, so all the compliance requirements, resilience requirements are all key. However, every time we sell something today, it needs a business case. Yeah, and the business case is actually exactly that. Yeah, so if you get rid of the users who are leaving the companies, or if you get rid of the data and the licenses of those who are on maternity leave or long-term sick leave, that alone, usually 2/3 of the cost can be recovered through that. Yeah, and then the 1/3, yeah, that can be usually found in the business. Yeah, or it adds up with the SharePoint stuff on top of it, and then you might recover the entire cost.
And you also have got, look at Microsoft. They are promoting Copilot more and more. What are the companies doing? They are creating more and more data, more and more documents.
Yeah.
It's a cool business from Microsoft because the SharePoint storage usage is going up.
Yeah.
We can close it with Keepit.
No, just a last one and an easy one. Today, when you meet customers, you speak still to the IT people, or you speak with the line of business people?
We speak to the IT people usually, except if it's a workload like Salesforce, then you speak to those who are owning Salesforce, because very often the admin rights as well as the cost or the license cost for Salesforce, for example, is sitting with them. Yeah, but the majority of the discussions we're having is with head of IT infrastructure, CISO, CIO, but also because of the discussion, head of license management. You know, these are the type of people we usually speak to.